Hi and welcome. This is going to be a short video that will help you to practice some forms that you can practice every day that will support bone health and has the potential to even increase bone density if you practice it regularly. And that's based on a study that was conducted recently showing that people who practiced a certain set of yoga forms or yoga poses over a few month time period, if they practiced on a daily basis, were actually able to improve their bone density if they had bone loss or osteoporosis. So this is just going to be supportive practice that will guide you through those forms, and again, that you can practice every day. So we'll just get started in seated, and just remember to listen to your body as you go through these forms and practice them in a way that feels just right to you. So it doesn't need to be too intense. They should all be accessible and feel good in your body. So we're going to start with a seated twist. So you just want to bring your legs out long. Bend one knee and bring the foot to the mat on that side, or you could cross that leg over to the opposite side, whichever is more accessible to you. If you want to be sitting up on a block or a bolster, you could do that as well here. We're just going to take a little twist toward the bent knee. So we're just turning, moving from the low ribs, finding a twist. Maybe you look back over your shoulder. So each of these is going to be held for about 5 breaths with then a little rest in between. So taking 5 breaths here. And then you can come back to center. Take a little rest. You can bounce your legs a little bit if you want to, or just sit in stillness for a couple of breaths. And then when you're ready, just take that on the opposite side. So bending the opposite leg and find your twist in the opposite direction. And take your 5 breaths. And then back to center when you're ready. Again, you can bounce your knees, rock your legs side to side. From here, we're going to go ahead and come into our tabletop. So just bring your legs around, bring your knees under your hips, hands under your shoulders. And we're going to take a few cat-cows to move through our spine. So if you need to pad your knees here, feel free to put a little pillow under your knees. And then just start to find a little softness in your belly. Let your back kind of arch, maybe lifting your gaze. Just pause there. And then you can round, looking back toward your legs. This is our cat. And then you might take 2 more of those, just kind of moving back and forth between those 2 spots. Arching, lifting your gaze, rounding, back toward your legs. And then last one. Maybe breathe in as you arch and out as you round. So from here, again, you can just pause for a moment. Notice how your spine feels. And then we're going to go ahead and come up to standing. So to do this, I have some blocks. And I forgot to mention to you, I also have a strap for us to use a little later. So if you didn't grab that, you may have to pause the video and grab a strap when we get to that point. We're going to go ahead and place blocks under our hands to come up to standing. Put them up on the highest setting. And then just kind of stepping our feet up one at a time and rolling up through our spine or walking hands up our legs to come up to our standing form mountain. So we're just going to take a few breaths in mountain. You can do movement here if you want to. You can roll out your shoulders, you can move your head and neck, you can take a little rock side to side. And then just find a little stillness in your mountain. Take a few breaths. And from here, we're going to go ahead and move through a few standing lunges. So the first one that we'll do is just to step 1 foot back. So I'm just stepping 1 foot back. You can come onto the ball of that foot, or you could lower your heel, whichever is fine. Your front knee is bent. If you struggle with your balance a little bit, you can bring some space between your feet. You can also maybe put your hand on a wall if you have a wall handy, or do this practice close to a wall. So from here, then what we're going to do is just to tilt a little bit forward and again find a twist toward this front leg. So I'm just going to bring my hands to prayer and find a little twist. You can keep your hands there, or maybe bring one hand down to the outside of your leg and the other hand behind your back. And we'll take our 5 breaths there. And then come back to center and stand all the way up. And then we're just going to switch sides. So you can step that foot up, step the opposite foot back. Same things on this side. Heel can be up or down. We're going to tilt forward just a little and then find our twist on this side. Again, for our 5 breaths. So we don't need to over twist here. Just again, what's accessible for you. Doesn't matter how far you go. We'll untwist, stand all the way back up, and then step that back foot up to join the front foot. Okay, so then just take a little pause there. Notice what you notice, what you feel. And the next one we're going to do another lunge and then transition into warrior 2. So we'll take that one step back again on that side. Again, use your wall for balance if you need to. And then open your hips out away from that front leg. Okay. Front leg is still bent. It doesn't matter how far apart our feet are. I'm going to have some nice level hips here. And then you can just bring your arms out wide for your warrior 2. Just feeling strong and grounded. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, straighten our front leg. And this time we're going to keep our spine nice and long. We're just going to tilt our hips in the direction of our front elbow. So just a little tilt. Spine is nice and long. You can do whatever you want with your arms here. You could just keep your hands on your hips, or you might bring your hands to prayer. If it feels good to stretch your arms out wide again, you could do that. Any of those options are fine. And then we'll bring hands back to hips if they're not up there already, and just tilt. Then we'll bend the front knee and tilt again. This time we can let that hand come down to that leg, that front hand come down to our leg or knee, and bring the opposite arm overhead. Try to keep your shoulder nice and relaxed, maybe a bend to your elbow. Awesome, and then you can bring that hand back down, bring your spine back up, bring your hips back up to level, and then we'll just start to turn our hips back to the front and step our back foot up. Awesome. From there, we'll just take a pause, be in our mountain for a few breaths. And then we'll just repeat that sequence on the opposite side. So our warriors, it's warrior, triangle, and extended side angle. So the first thing you do is just step the opposite foot back to your lunge, And then let those hips turn out away from the front leg. So we want to keep that front leg nice and stable and just let the hips turn out. You can bring your arms out nice and wide and take 5 breaths. Bring your hands to your hips when you're ready and straighten your front leg. And do the same thing on this side. We'll find our tilts. So spine stays nice and long. Hands can stay there on your hips, maybe come to prayer or out wide. You can bring your hands back to your hips when you're ready. Come back up, tilting back up. Bend your front leg this time. And we'll do the same thing, tilting toward that front elbow. Maybe bring your hand down to your thigh or toward your knee, and then the opposite hand comes overhead. Opposite arm. And breathing there. And you can come back up when you're ready. Turn your hips back to face the front, and then just step your back foot in. Awesome. We're just going to do one more in standing. We're going to do a little tree. So a little bit of a balance. Again, have your wall handy if you want it for a little support. You're just going to start to shift your weight to one leg. Come onto the ball, the opposite foot. You can rotate that leg outward as much as you like. And then you can have your toes just stay on the mat, maybe resting your foot against the opposite leg. Or you can lift your foot a little bit higher. Wherever feels just right to you. You might have your hands at heart center. You might bring your arms up for your tree branches. And then coming back down when you're ready. You can shift sides, shift weight to the opposite side, and try it on the other side. So you might have one side that is easier for balance than the other. This is my less easy to balance on side. So this time I'm just going to keep my toes down. And that's my tree on this side. And then take our 5 breaths. Just try not to lock out your knee when you're standing leg. And if you lose your balance, just take a pause and regroup and come back into it. And then coming out at the end of your 5 breaths. Awesome. Maybe you just kind of march in place a little bit. Roll out your ankles if that feels good. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and come back down to the mat. We're going to come down to our bellies this time. So I'm just going to grab my blocks and place them right under my hands. And then just bring my hands down to those blocks, step one foot back, and then the other to find my table again. And then just start to slowly lower. I like to kind of bring a little space between my knees and hands and slowly lower down to the mat, to my belly. So from here, I'm going to slide both hands under my shoulders. My hair out of the way so you can see that. And then I'm just going to start to gently lift my upper body up. So I'm not lifting with my head. I'm lifting my whole torso, my upper body up just a little bit. We're just going to do this one for 3 breaths. 2, and I'm using the strength of my back muscles, not pressing into my hands here. 1, and back down. And you can rest there for a minute, maybe letting your hands just rest where they're comfortable. Take a couple breaths. And then when you're ready, you can try lifting your legs. So we're not going to bend the knees. We're going to try to lift the legs, the whole leg, and take a few breaths there. This time your upper body's down, legs are lifted. This one can be really challenging. and back down. And take a couple breaths. And then the last one, bring hands back under our shoulders. This time we're going to lift the upper body and legs at the same time. So whenever you're ready, come on up. Upper body and legs for 3, 2, 1. And back down. You might bend your knees and she'll vibrate your legs side to side for a few breaths. Just going to release any tension in that low back. Awesome. If it feels nice, you might go ahead and press up to tabletop. Bring your knees a little wider and sink your hips back towards your heels, letting your upper body come down to the mat. Maybe just resting your head on your hands and just take a few breaths in, child. If that's not comfortable, you can just stay on your belly while you take a few deep breaths. So guys, from here, we're going to go ahead and come back to seated just for a moment. So I'm going to have my strap handy. I'm going to have my blocks handy, one on either side. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and do just a little bit of a boat and then come down to our backs. So for boat, I like to just sit up nice and tall, sitting levelly, spine nice and long, and then my feet are on the mat. I'm just going to bring my hands right behind my knees and just start to lean back a little bit, only as much as I can still breathe comfortably. I can still talk a little bit if I need to. You can take this further if you want. You can lift your one or both feet. You can let your hands come up. You can try straightening your legs. You can do all kinds of fun stuff with this one. But the idea is to only go into a range where you're still breathing well. So whatever that is for you. And then we can come all the way back up. Maybe you come forward just a little bit here. Take a breath. And then we'll go ahead and come all the way onto our backs. You might scoot forward a little if you need to. All the way down to your back. If it feels nice, you might hug your knees in just for a minute. Maybe rock gently side to side. And then we'll bring feet back to the mat. And we'll take a bridge here. So it's going to be just pressing into the soles of the feet and lifting our hips. So knees have to come forward a little bit, hips go straight up, and then our whole spine should lift up. So I'll have hands down by our sides, press into your feet and lift up for your 5 breaths. Nice. Then you can lower back down to that. And again, maybe hug your knees in. From here, go ahead and just let one leg come out all the way, come out long down to the mat. This is where I'm going to use my strap. So I'm just going to place the strap around the ball of my foot on the opposite side and just lift that foot up toward the ceiling. You can hold your strap with both hands or one hand. Just taking a little bit of a stretch here. You might feel that a little bit in the hamstring. It doesn't matter. Your foot doesn't have to point exactly up to the ceiling, just as much as feels right to you. And then from here, I'm going to just shift that strap into the opposite hand. So opposite hand, opposite leg. And then just let that leg come across my body, like a little twist. And I have my block here that I'm just going to place my leg on to find my twist. And you could either continue to hold the strap or you can just let go of that at this point and find your twist. Maybe your knee bends a little bit. Good. And then we can bring that knee back to center, just bending it back into your body. Maybe hug it. Maybe rotate your ankle a little bit in one direction and then the other. And whenever you're ready, we'll switch sides. So you can just let that leg come down to the mat. Take your strap again around the opposite foot and lift one toward the ceiling on this side. Find your stretch. And then bringing both sides of the strap into that opposite hand. We can go ahead and bring that leg across the body. I'm going to have to bend my leg here because the wall is in my way. And you can find your twist on this side. And again, you can have your block under that leg to support. You don't need to bring your leg all the way down to the mat. You can breathe here. Nice. So you can come back to center when you're ready. Untwisting. And then from here, you can just let both legs come out long. Or you could place a bolster or prop under your knees, or you could also roll onto your side or stomach. We're just going to spend a couple minutes here in a little bit of stillness, Savasana, just to let everything settle and soak into our bodies and give ourselves space to just be for a couple of minutes. You might just notice your breath. Notice your body on the mat. Notice how you're feeling. And when you feel ready, you can start to take some movement. Maybe wiggling your toes and fingers, maybe rotating wrists and ankles. You might eventually make your way onto one side or the other and up to seated. I hope you enjoyed doing this practice with me. Again, you can do this every day. And the more often you do it, the better, the stronger you get, and hopefully the healthier your skeleton and bones will be. So thank you so much, and I will see you next time.